felt like a bit of a turning point, didn't it, really? Wembley Stadium absolutely packed out.
Just the quality of the game yesterday was so good to watch. And the fact that it means so much to not only those players, but everyone in England that was watching it, and a huge step forward in women's football in this country, considering it's not that long ago since they were under a 50-year ban. It's fantastic that they've managed to win a major tournament. And with the first goal in particular that was just so classy, and the second goal bringing on such an iconic celebration, it feels like a brilliant step forward, definitely.
Yeah, I think every step of the way of the final, and to be honest, the whole journey to the final as well, it's felt like something in the water was meant to happen for this team, and it's just absolutely insane to think of the impact this is going to have on the women's game. My daughters were watching it with me back home, and yeah, they were absolutely off their seats. To see a Wembley Stadium as full as it was, to see 17 million viewers back home as well watching it on telly, that's kind of the numbers you see for men's games, isn't it? And to see that kind of equality and the same kind of interest in the game is just insane, isn't it? Dave, do you think this momentum can continue for the WSL and the women's game? Do you think supporters are going to go out and actually pay to watch the women's game week in, week out now? Hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to hope so, of course. I think in terms of the actual event itself, I can't remember a women's competition having this much buzz surrounding it, particularly the women's England team. The achievement itself is mammoth-like in terms of what it does for the game and the kind of people that it does attract. And it was such a good final, obviously on the edge of your seat kind of stuff. England obviously don't always do it the easy way, as we know. And but yeah, I mean, I was just glad to see it not to go to penalties, because we know how we tend to fare in there.
Well, having said that, the players were absolutely exhausted. I think they would have taken penalties in the end just because they didn't have much energy to go any further. But as soon as that second goal went in, it was just manic, wasn't it? The celebration seems like it's going to be an iconic one now. And she nearly didn't take her shirt off, thinking, if this is disallowed, I'm going to look stupid. But no, it went in, and you didn't ever feel like England were going to lose that lead with a few minutes to go. They managed the game so well, didn't they, Miles, in the end?
Yeah, I think that last 6 minutes or so, the ball was in the corner for the majority of it, and they were really trying to manage the game well. And again, that's a good coach showing their team how to get it done. And it was a brilliant moment for Chloe Kelly. It's fantastic. Now, this isn't someone who is necessarily a household name or the most obvious name on the team sheet for England. It wasn't even like it was an obvious thing that she would make the squad. And now all of a sudden she has the most iconic moment in the England national team's women's history, undoubtedly. And it's fantastic. I think it's lovely seeing not only the support of people at home, but then the men's national team as well. I saw Harry Kane tweeting Ella Toone, congratulating her on what an amazing finish it was, which it really was. That little dink over the keeper, to do that in a final, the composure that shows, and you've hit the nail on the head, that it's just got to mean more support going forward as well now. The WSL is so accessible to us. My wife and I have booked our tickets for Villa's first home game of the season today, which I'm really looking forward to. I mean, they're definitely going to lose. They've got Man City typically. But it just means I can be disappointed by 2 Aston Villa teams in one season instead. But I do think it's important that we do get behind it now, and we really appreciate the step that it's taken forward, because the standard and the quality that they showed and the passion behind it, that's a brilliant thing to capture. And the atmosphere around it is so precious to us. When you think of all the chaos that we had in the men's final last year and how the fans treated it, and then compare that to the atmosphere around the final yesterday, that's something I want in football. Definitely. You talk about your daughters growing up watching that. That's what we want to foster. So, yeah, I think all of us here at the Football Diary really would encourage people to go to the WSL where possible. It's really accessible. I think it was £10 a ticket for us. Amazing. I'm never paying that for a men's top flight game.
No, but that's the thing. You talk about the quality. I don't think many fans of the men's game realised how good quality the football is at the top of the European game, especially.
Yeah.
I know the rest of the world's kind of catching up, but European teams are generally fantastic. I mean, the Germany team we beat have got such a good record in this tournament in particular. The Sweden team we just brushed aside in the semi-final. We rarely beat that Sweden team. They want to be elite teams of world football. So, yeah, we can't understate how much quality has gone into this England team. And to think Phil Neville was the coach last time we were in a major tournament with them, and it was almost like a glorious failure, wasn't it, in the semi-finals there. I don't doubt if we rewound that and put Serena Wiegman in charge for that game, played it again, that it'd be a different story. It's just a different mentality, wasn't it? A high-level elite coach like that coming in and just transforming a very talented team, which is great to see. But we're not going to pretend to be like experts on women's football either. But we're sitting up and talking about it now at the top of our show. Well, that's the thing. It's the awareness of the game in popular consciousness, isn't it? And media outlets haven't traditionally reported that much on the WSL. But you find there's a whole podcast dedicated to it now. There's, entire sort of sections on websites dedicated to the women's game. And to see the kind of interest in it that this finals generated and this tournament's generated kind of makes you feel like it's a lot more equal now than it ever has been. So, yeah, wicked to see. And I just hope it does kickstart kind of an attendance surge in women's games, because the English team has always kind of sparked the imagination for the last decade, I think, in England. I think the last time we played in the World Cup in 2019, I've never seen that much publicity around them until this year, really. I just think the confidence that all those players have had unleashed in them by this coach is the thing that I noticed. To try a lob in a European Championship final is insane. To try a back heel through the keeper's legs in a semi-final, the quality of the goals is there because they've got the confidence to try it and the freedom to do that. And I think that's one difference between the women's game and the men's game. The men's sort of players feel, I think, a lot more under pressure. I can't see someone like maybe Raheem Sterling's probably the exception to this, but every other England attacking player, I think, would really feel wary about trying something crazy in a final or a semi-final for fear of messing up. And we saw what missing a penalty did to the players that missed it in the final for the men's team a year ago. I think they feel like risk is too dangerous for them for fear of a backlash. But the women's team had no such concerns about that, which was great to see. I just wish the men's team could take note from this and look at the kind of freedom they played with and went, do you know what, we can do that as well.
It's a really excellent point. And with a tournament this year, the example has been set. And what a year for English football it would be if we could back up a women's Euro victory with the men performing well in the World Cup too. And that atmosphere around the Lionesses camp does remind me of the attitude that England players take onto their international duty on the men's side as well. And it was really interesting seeing them link the two and seeing both teams kind of training together at times. I know like Phil Foden's been doing a lot of training with the women's team over the summer as well. They've been linking up a lot. And I like the idea that the national teams have got that unity. And what better example could you follow than like you say, the freedom that the women's team has just played with? It was brilliant to watch.